So what happens?
Yeah.
You're sitting too much.
Yeah.
What is happening with that spa microbiome? It disappears.
Yeah.
Because
monotony
it's a
dumbs
two-way
it.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I was with the Bushman in Botswana, it was very interesting. I measured my microbiome before, and I measured my microbiome after. I had a completely different microbiome. In 24 hours in Holland, I had my old microbiome again in 24 hours. So I have been there for nothing. So which means, what was different there in comparison with Holland? It was nature.
Yeah.
It was no pollution.
Yes.
I didn't sit at all.
Yeah.
I didn't write. I didn't do all those things we do here.
Yeah.
So it's much more than food.
Yeah.
It's much more than food.
100%.
It is not food only.
Yeah.
It is everything at the same time.
Would you subscribe to that idea that we are now recognizing the fact that there is information being exchanged at an electrical or a light or a biochemical situation, and that information is multifactorial, it's quantum in the state of the microbiome, and that we need to start to understand this information that even takes place when food enters our system. Information is taking place, or a conversation is taking place. Is that a worthwhile paradigm to think that we're in this post-Newtonian age or not?
I'm going to use a metaphor, which I think is answering your question in a very short way. Our context should be seen as the composer of the music, our organism as the director of an orchestra wants us to play. That organism, as a director of an orchestra, the conductor, makes our organs, and the word organ means music instrument.
Right.
To play the music by all individual organelles, which are the first violin and the second violin, etc. So if we understand science and health from a context-text interaction, then we understand that it is a top-down process. It's not from the molecule to the context. No, it's from the context to the molecule. And if there was no capability of communication between all organelles, all organs, all systems, and the organism with the context, there wouldn't be life. So that is the blueprint of life, is based on communication.
In that context, is the conductor the brain?
The conductor,
or the thing that sits here,
is that thing in your brain.
Yeah.
The context is our environment. Yes. And you and I belong to one soma.
Right.
I am not a soma separated from you.
Right.
We are one soma because we synchronize.
Yes, it's incredible. I'd love to just finish by showing you what I've been working on as my idea of the wellbeing multiplier, which is my attempt, my paradigm, which I'm not going to get a bloody Nobel Prize for because it's probably not that good, but I'll show it to you anyway. Can I ask you a personal question? Because I have heard it explained that you have experienced, you mentioned your parents dying when you were young. I have heard that you experienced some trauma yourself as a young person, and you have a lot of people who end up as healers, or who are able as a 17-year-old to challenge the professor by seeing things that professor has not seen despite being an expert. Do you think that sometimes trauma gives people that perceptive ability to see things in a non-conventional way?
I definitely know that I sense things that everybody could sense, but I because I had to survive, those senses developed much more than in other people, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. With my background, I should have been a drug addict.
Right,
Definitely.
right,
Definitely. And I should have been dead for a long time already. But here I am still. Yeah. I'm not a drug addict. I'm not dead. And I think that I have some, when I see a patient, I know after 5 minutes I know what the problem is. But I can never tell it to anybody because that's not science. And you know what I literally do? I do that on purpose.
You have to post-rationalize all the tests.
I do that on purpose because I don't want to be arrogant.
Yes.
And says no, don't tell them.
Yes.
Just do the scientific thing.
Yes.
Make it everything as scientific as possible. But believe me, very often after 5 minutes I know already I could stop.
There's a really interesting story. In the Second World War, the UK had cracked the Enigma code. So we knew where German boats were, but we had to say to a pilot, we couldn't say to the pilot, we couldn't just destroy them. We couldn't just destroy the ship because they would say, we got destroyed out of nowhere. So what we had to do is we had to say to a pilot, we've picked a course at random. Why don't you see if you can find something, knowing where the ship was. So the German ship would radio back to say, we've been spotted by a plane, right? But we knew all along where they were.
Exactly.
And the pilot didn't even know that we knew. Because the pilot would radio back and say, I've seen a German plane, I've seen a German ship. And I think you have to give plausible explanations that are within the current conventional paradigms for people to feel comfortable that your hunch, your sense is validated. And I think you must feel that. But the trauma that you had, Leo, what sort of, if someone's watching this, to give someone hope who has trauma right now, how comfortable do you feel about describing the sort of trauma you experienced?
I don't have a problem at all.
Yeah.
There is an adverse childhood experience questionnaire, which are 10 factors, which go from sexual, emotional, physical abuse, neglect, and drugs, etc. I have 9 out of 10. But I have something which was incredible, and that my parents were incredible good people. So the first 10 years of life, we were very poor, but there was something which is unbeatable and which is love. And that was... there is nothing with a better healing effect than socializing love, and that was incredible. So, and when I was 35 years old, so it was 25 years that I didn't cry one tear. I was not a nice guy, not at all. But I was very strong. In my eyes, I was strong. I was very fragile. That's why.
Yeah, but externally strong.
It seemed that I was very strong. And when I was 35 years old, something happened. And it was the first day I thought, it's time to solve my past. And that is what I did. And I went to a psychologist, and the first psychologist, after 45 minutes, I said to him, you have to pay me, guy, because I am curing you. And then I got to know a woman which is called Maria, and she talked like this. And she said, hello, I'm Maria, I'm Leo, come in. And she said, can I smoke? I said, if you want to smoke with you. And she lighted up 8 cigarettes. Because she walked around all the time, and she left cigarettes on. It was so funny. and then she started, and she asked, what is your problem? So now look, I have already spoken with somebody, and I can tell you I have some obsessive thing. No, just tell me something about your father. So my father's got nothing to do with it. Yeah. Then tell me something about your mother. I said, my mother hasn't got to do anything either with it. And then he said, then you can go 70 euros. So I stood up, I paid her, I went out, and I came in again. And in good English, I said, what the f***? My father and mother has got nothing to do with it. If they got nothing to do with it, then why don't you tell something about them. And I started talking about my parents. And after an hour she said, "You're finished." And I looked at her, said, "What the hell is this?" You cannot imagine. I had a neurodermatitis with huge cyst on my face, and everything I studied was for me. I had to get rid of that. Yeah? And whatever I did, fasting, blasting, nothing helped. So she said, "You are finished. Just continue with your monologue." And I loved that. So I started to talk with myself. And I said, I have to go. I lived in Spain.
By finished, you meant the session is finished.
Finished.
Yeah. She didn't mean you're finished. She meant we're finished with this.
Yeah.
With this.
You don't have to come more.
Right.
So I said, just continue. And I understood. So I went back
Continue with your own self-healing.
And I went to Holland, because I lived in Spain. I went to Holland. And I started searching all the people that damaged us, not only me, my sisters and my brothers also. And I hadn't seen my brothers and sisters for 25 years. So I did everything in need in 3 months' time. But I had a huge clinic with 22 employees, and in Spain. And I was 3 months away. So after 3 months, I was worse than ever. My neurodermatitis was worse than ever. You cannot even imagine. And my partner phoned me and said, "You have to come home because we're going bankrupt. And we have to pay 22 persons. If you're not there, it doesn't work. Yeah? You have to come back." So I drove back in 1996, and I never forget that. I drove back. I was by car. It was 1996. I don't know if you remember how cold it was. It was the last really horrible winter. And I was driving, and I went over the Dutch-Belgium border, and I passed my life 1,000,000 of times. And I got into a trance, and I got out of the trance in Lille. So I have driven 400 kilometers unconsciously. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't really know. So I come out of this situation, and on my left-hand side, there is a meter of snow. And I'm driving on and there's nobody.
You didn't realize?
There's nobody. It's incredible. So I go out. There was a big hotel, a Sofitel, 300 rooms. There was nobody there. Only in the reception, one girl. And I said, "Do you have a room?" And she said, "Yes, 300.
300, yeah.
Everything is closed here." And I said, "Wow. And how did you come here?" I said, "I don't know. I really don't know." I said, "I really don't know." So we cooked together, and I said to her, "I'm going to sit on my bed, don't worry. I'm going to do a thing which is called dark room treatment, the cave treatment, which is in Australia an accepted psychiatric intervention, because I have to find something so I need to be sensorically depleted." So what I did, I sat in that room, I slept, it was dark, and life passed by. And at once, I felt, and I knew the problem. It was something with my father. It had got nothing to do with sexual abuse, it was with my father. What I did is I lied to him. And we had a rule in our family. So my parents, they have never shouted at us, but never is never. That is, my brothers and sisters, Papa and Mama, did they shout? Never. They never hit us. But the only thing is that people don't lie. Don't lie. Not in this house is not necessary.
That's what they said to you.
Yeah, just tell the truth. But something happened, and that was my mother died, and I was stuck away with friends, and I never saw my mother dead. I was not at the funeral because my father thought that was better for me. So then he left me with some friends, and I didn't want to go home afterwards. You know why? Not because I wasn't okay at home. No, it was much more basic. At home of those friends, I had food. It was just about food.
You're like the Maasai or whatever in
Yeah,
McDonald's.
they gave me food, and we were so. So I have fasted in Amsterdam, which is
Yes.
weird, but obligatory, not voluntarily. So that's why I didn't want to go home, and my father he obliged me to go home. And every single night, he kneeled next to my bed and asked me, "You will never abandon me anymore, no? And you love me, don't you?" But the poor man was very ill. So what I said, "Yes, Papa, I love you, and no, I will never abandon you anymore." But at the same time, I lied to my father. And when I was 35 years old, I lied to my partner. And that lie opened up that old wound, but I didn't know. And then I knew. I lied to my father. I said, "I love you, and I will never abandon you anymore." I didn't love him. I hated him. So I lied to him. I really lied to him. So when I found that out, my body responded. I cannot even say what I felt because it's not explainable in words. We don't have words for this emotion. I went to the cemetery. I bought a bottle of wine. I poured half the bottle on that piece of grass, and I told my father, "You bloody bastard. How could you produce this guilt in a little boy of 10 years old?" And at the same time, I apologized. "Sorry, Papa, I lied to you. And I should never have lied to you because then we could have worked things out." I drank half the bottle. I poured the half of the bottle on his grave, which was not his grave, doesn't matter. Then I went to the Van Baarlestraat, so the most expensive street in Amsterdam. I bought me a suit. I gave the suit to me, and I told myself, the end. 4 hours later, the neurodermatitis disappeared, and it never came back. 4 hours later. And it never came back.
The most powerful explanation of your entire way of approaching medicine.
And that's the truth and nothing but the truth.
Leo, you've described the situation that most people are in, where they are perhaps or have lost track of their own ability to sense, with all senses, how they're doing. So the chances are that people watching this are in that 90%. What general advice could you give to people? And you've already explained one, which is you're in control of your own health. What should people do today to begin the process of putting cPNI and your thinking into practice?
First of all, do all those things you don't like. Yeah, that is the first of all. And reject all the things you want.
So don't be too comfortable.
Don't be too comfortable. That is the first thing. It's very logical and normal, very normal, that you eat caramelized popcorn. But be aware of the fact that corn is the worst cereal of all cereals. Yeah? It blocks the uptake of all micronutrients 100%, not 20%. It's not a coincidence that Peruvian people, the people in Guatemala, and the people of Mexico are the smallest in height countries in the world because they can't grow with this amount of corn. One. So do all those things you don't like. Take a cold bath and not a nice, smooth, warm bath. Take a hot bath. Once in a while, don't eat. And sometimes eat too much. And although sitting is an exhausting thing, because that's the
De-energizing.
the paradox.
It's de-energizing.
If you sit too much, you get exhausted, and then you go home. And your partner says, you say, "I am so tired." And what do your partner says? Just lie down. Yeah? Do exactly the opposite as modern life tends you to do. I think that's the best advice.
This is
I
so
can
good.
give.
I can't help but following up with the question, which is, if we're in tune with our body, how do we differentiate between the things that, how do we check in? If we're doing the things that our body is not wanting, if we're naturally predisposed to sitting down, eating too much, numbing ourselves, how do we, and those things become normal, but they're not natural, how do we start to understand the difference between the comfortable things
And the needed things.
and the needed things?
If you drink what you need, thirst is regulated and means you don't have to drink 20 times a day. If you eat what you should eat, hunger disappears for at least 8 hours. If you move like you should, then you develop the need for exercise.
Right.
And if you sleep when you should sleep, you wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock and you say, I have slept enough. And all those people who wake up tired, they already know that they need more sleep.
Right.
Needing more sleep is a very bad sign.
So, which I often do actually, or certainly traditionally did. So, is it a question of breaking the cycle by doing things that? So, if we're drawn to sitting or we're drawn to eating too much, we're drawn to those things because they're comfortable, right?
So I'm going to give you a much better example.
Please, yeah.
I think that's the best example you can give. Look, a little kid is abused of and neglected.
Yeah.
When that person becomes an adult, the person rejects skin-to-skin contact.
Right.
But the solution is skin-to-skin
Right.
That's what I mean.
Right.
This is what I mean.
So in nature, if we are perfectly natural in a brilliantly natural environment, is it that, and we are accessing our true self, not our ego self, we're accessing sunshine, nature, forest, the sea, the salt, the magnesium from the sea. Is it that when we're in a most natural state, we are drawn to even more to those natural activities and experiences, but we have become habituated through modern society to things which have numbed us, and those become a vicious cycle of behavior? Yeah. Is that the way to think about it?
Look, if you challenge yourself in nature,
yes,
you start to like it.
Okay.
The things in culture, you want them, but you don't like them. And you know, you use the word body because that gives you the possibility to talk about the body and the mind. Don't do that. Do what you want. We're on a democracy. But it's not right. It's a soma. We're talking about the soma. And the soma starts here.
And it's the connection. The soma is the whole thing.
And the soma is the whole thing. And the mind is in the soma.
Okay.
So the emotions are the body. The soma are emotions.
Thank you.
And the soma are thoughts. So it's all in us.
So you're right with my language, because what I'm trying to explain with this idea of what is nearly done, this idea of wholeness is not just the wholeness of psychic totality, but it's the wholeness of cognitive capability, heart, emotion, and intuition. It's the wholness of connection with relationships, and the wholness of connection with each other and the earth. And so soma,
and you know,
one Tao, one Tao.
And you know how I would talk about it? Like this. Not like this.
Okay.
Like this.
Right.
So it's intuition, it is thoughts, it is spirituality, it's in me.
Can I finish with a question then? If you close your eyes and you imagine the past and now think about the future, where spatially to you is the past and where spatially is the future?
They're both in the middle of my brain.
Okay. That's really interesting, because that's probably about 0.1% of people answer like that. A certain percentage of people say the future's there and the past is there.
There.
Some people say the past is there. I'm looking at the past and I'm also looking at the future. And interestingly, there's a small amount of tribes that see the past and the future as
It's part of us. I always ask myself, if it works like this, how does it work?
yeah,
So if you see the future in our brain, you don't need to see the future because we are already pre-playing it.
yes,
If you see the brain of newborn kids, you cannot even imagine. They are pre-playing mathematics. They already know the numbers, and they don't even have opened up their eyes. It is very hard science in human newborn kids. They are pre-playing the future, and they replay the past. So I can't see it, not in front, not in the back, but because we don't have a destiny. We are our destiny.
Listen, this is so powerful. Thank you so much. Outside this conversation, I'd like to talk to you about the wellbeing multiplier to get your response. But right now, I'd just like to thank you. This was going to be a much shorter thing. And time, thank you, has flown.
Thank you.
So
time
thank you.
flown.
Time has flown. Thank you for bringing the presence that you have. You really brought an amazing amount of presence to this conversation.
Thank you very
I
much.
hope we meet again. And please, can we stay friends?
Of course.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks
a
so
friend.
much. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, a round of applause. Well done, everyone. Leo, there will be clinicians watching this. There will be people who are not clinicians. For both groups, what advice can you give them to contact you to get involved with your work?
Okay, so for patients, we have a clinic, which is called Pruimboom Institute Clinic. They can find it on our website, which is called pruimboominstitute.com. And for the health professionals, they're very welcome in our international masters. We're in 16 different countries. We're accredited by the University of Salamanca. We have our own chair at the University of Granada, where we do our own research. So if you want to learn about all these things and apply it in daily clinic, then you're welcome in the international master, obviously.
Amazing. What level of clinical qualification does someone have to have before they begin the masters?
If you want a diploma, you have to be a health professional. From nurses to psychiatrists and everybody in between.
Yes.
If you're not, everybody has the right on knowledge. That is, I think, very important. What we teach is wisdom and knowledge, and no information. Information people can find themselves. I think that's very important. And people have the right on knowledge. So we accept, don't we? Non-health professionals, but they can't get the master title. But they get our title of clinical psychoneuroimmunologist.
If people want to access the research or the publications that you've done, what have you done and where can people access them?
I've published a lot of things. I should let them just go in PubMed.
PubMed,
And PubMed, and there they can find, they put my surname and they find a whole bunch of scientific publications. I've written several books. I have one book that should already have been translated to English. We sold 180,000 books in Germany and 60,000 in Holland. And that book has to be translated in English. Very, very easy written. So in the middle of patient clinician, but for both groups, it's very, very effective.
Useful for both.
It will come out in less than 6 months. The Return of Homo Sapiens.
The Return of Homo.
The Return of Homo Sapiens.
Can I just show you something? I have a music project. It's with my friend Dave. We write music, and the name of our band.
No jodas, tío. You call this synchronizing?
Well, this is the name of our band. That's the name of our band.
Wow.
And our album is out next Thursday.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, that's really funny.